Alright folks, we're fixing to get with it and have some fun again. I've got my handy dandy torch out here, which I get out about once a year if I'm lucky, but I'm glad I own the thing. It's handy to have. And I've got some cattle panels, 16 foot long, 50 inches tall, or in our case wide. And we're going to build some archways, some climbing trellises for the garden raised bed. So I've kind of measured it out with it being 16 feet long with a panel that I've got to work with. My walkways in my raised bed are only 2 feet wide, but that actually works pretty well, I think, because what I'll do is I'll give 7 feet vertical, and then I'm going to just bend it over at a 90-degree angle. That's why I've got the torch. I'm going to use it to heat the metal up. Bend it 90-degree angle and go 2 feet wide with it. So that'll be 7 and 7 and 2 is 14 or 16. So that'll give me the total use of the panel, and it'll give me good head height as far as climbing stuff. So I'm going to build just 2 of them for now. I've got this panel, and then I've got one on the truck here. 2 of them for now, get them nailed up, and then I'll show you how they look once I've got them done and installed in the garden. Okay, so I've got things set up to kind of help me, and I've actually already been working on it a little bit. I forgot to start the camera when I started working, but I've got a strap here so I can pull up on this end as I'm heating the joints, and you can actually see there in the middle where I've already bent it. My torch is already laying there wasting gas, so let me get after it here, and y'all can just get a kind of see how I'm doing this one-handed, because my wife didn't really want to help. So let me get this set down here where you can see. There we go. I think that'll work. See, I'll just pick up on the strap. I'm going to pull a little tension on it. And actually, now that I think about it, since I've already started, I'll probably actually tie this strap back on itself. That'll help give me a little bit of leverage too. Couple things to keep in mind when you're doing this. This is a galvanized panel. You don't ever want to heat up galvanized metals in a confined space because of the gases it puts off when it gets hot and toxic. And also, for me anyway, being stupid, I'm out here working on a concrete surface on my driveway, and this concrete keeps getting hot and wanting to pop. So, a couple little things to keep in mind. We'll see, we're making a little steady progress here with it. I'm going to redo my straps so I've got a better angle to pull. This ought to do. I'm going to actually tie it back on itself. And then as I heat up the points where I want, it should just bend into shape. I mean, naturally the point of stress now is 1 point, midpoint, but when I heat up the metal, that midpoint is going to become whatever point I make it. So I can start heating on my second half over here, and it should just automatically start to take shape. Should have done that from the beginning. Would have saved myself a lot of stress pulling on that line. Well, I was going to say that you could see the structure was supporting itself, but it fell apart. My knot gave out. So anyway, I'm going to get it retied real quick. Keep going. It's just about done. There we go. There's a little better shot of it all holding together. I've got the strap run back and forth 3 times now. I could go for a 4th, but it's got pretty good tension. and you can definitely see where the heated bend points are. And so I'm going to just keep on working. What I've noticed is it seems like the outside edges are the ones that seem to hold the most stress for some reason. So I tend to do 2 or 3 of the middle ones and then go hit each outside one and go back, do 2 or 3 of the middle ones. But now that it's bent as much as it is, I can actually really start to see which one is kind of holding me up. You know, whichever one has the widest arc is the one that's the tightest. So I'll go heat it up and shorten that arc a little bit. All right, so there you can see we've got number 1 done. And what's interesting is now that I've got the bulk majority of it bent and standing up, that strap holds no tension at all. Even if I pull it so tight that the 2 ends touch, it really doesn't give me a whole lot of help down here as far as getting that little bit of extra bend. If I really was, you know, particular and I wanted a perfect 90-degree bend, I'd have to put this in some sort of clamp or vise, you know, and then be able to bend, you know, some additional stress on it. But this is certainly going to work for all I need. So anyway, this is number 1 done, and let's get number 2 done. Now here's just another way to go about it. I thought about this doing the first one because when I first had that panel laid down on its face, if you will, and the ends tied together, it was wanting to roll back and forth a lot, and it actually was quite cumbersome and, you know, borderline dangerous to stand inside of it as it was wanting to rock back and forth. So what I'm going to do with this one is I left it stood up and I just tied the ends together enough that it's in kind of an arc shape, as you can see, and it's standing up on its own. And as I start to heat those joints, it should want to pull together, and then I'll loop the strap back on itself and make it a little bit tighter again. But actually it was more difficult to get it stood up on its edge like this because it kept wanting to fall over. So you may want to do something where you, my wife's messing with me. You may want to do where you lay it on its back, strap the ends first, do the first quick heat with it, and then stand it up on edge and tie the ends together to, you know, just be a little bit safer with it. Get you a little action shot. I'm sorry if the torch is loud, but you can see we're going to heat this one. Just watch close and see it heats up and you see it bang. Ever so slightly. We'll work our way down. There, I saw the whole panel screwed on that one. See, the bottom is what doesn't want to go. The bottom is in contact with the driveway, so dangerous. Keep doing that up and down until we get a 90. Okay, so what I ended up having to do on this one with it standing up like this, it still worked okay, but with my strap on the end, you can see those 2 ends are touching, and I still couldn't get enough tension on it here to want to make it bend a 90-degree angle. So I actually had to run my strap down along the side and had to tie it together closer down here, had to tie it as tight as I could to put more tension in this area to actually get a good 90-degree bend. So you can see now, looking down on top, good 90 degrees there. This actually, it looks like more than 90 degrees, but it's just because of how the tension is. When I release this strap, those will go back to, I guess, less than 90 degrees, but when I release the strap, those will go back to being good corners. So anyway, they're both cut and done. Let's see if we can go get them installed in the garden. Now, if you don't have access to a true cutting torch, oxyacetylene or oxypropane, you could try a little torch like this. I just burned mine on part of the fence right there for about a minute, and never did get cherry red, but I don't know, with some good tension on it, it might still work to warm it up enough and bend it. But anyway, just another idea in case you don't, you know, something else you could try. Otherwise, I'm not really sure, you know. I'm kind of basing it all on being easy because I have a cutting torch. So there you go. We got them installed, and you know, it's not the prettiest by any means, but is it practical? I hope so. Sure. Each cattle panel cost me $20 at Tractor Supply, and I bought a 5-pound box of these fencing staples. Now these are 1.5-inch staples, so they're good heavy-duty ones. They're not shorter ones like you'd use for chicken wire. I only needed about a 1/2 pound, but whatever. I'll use them eventually. And I went ahead and drove the T-post. I was hoping they'd be more self-supporting, but they really weren't. This cattle panel is pretty flexible stuff. So I went ahead and drove the T-post for what it's worth. I got each one, I think maybe it's got 3 inches in the ground. I don't know what I hit, but it was rock solid despite all the rain we've had. Anyway, went ahead and drove the T-post to give me a little bit more vertical support. Wired off on them just to help tie it all together, but you can see it still wants to rock and roll. I think it'll work just fine if we get real high winds, and I've got a lot of leafy plants on here that might make it want to sway or bend. Just hopefully it won't fall over, especially since it's anchored with the nails. You know, it might want to try to lean over to one side, but I don't think it's going to rip out and blow completely over, not with the post and the anchors. But But anyway, we'll see what I can get planted on them. I've got some cucumber seeds. I want to get cucumber planted up this year, and maybe some sugar snap peas, or not some snap peas, but I want to do. My wife wants shell peas for my winter garden, which I need to get those planted in like now. So yeah, maybe I'll put I don't know, shell peas on one and sugar snap peas on the other, and then when those start to tap out, I might come back through and put cucumbers on both of them. I'm not sure, but anyway, quick and easy cattle panel trellis. Hope you guys like it. Maybe some of you find some use in it.